February 13th, 2026. Today we're going to read out of the Essential Buddha Dhamma, and it's Binku Pa Payuto. Now, this is comprised of what we've been already reading, but in Buddha Dhamma, it's on chapter 16, and it's the path, factors of wisdom. We're going to discuss right view and right thought. But in Essential Buddha Dhamma, it's in chapter 8. And it is translated and edited by Bruce Evans. Chapter 8, the wisdom factors of the Majjhima Patipata. Right view, Sammatiti. As already stated, Buddhism looks on ethics from the perspective of making use of the laws of nature, or putting the laws of nature into use in the way that it's to our benefit. Therefore, the correct conduct to our behavior is a life lived with a thorough knowledge of the principles of causality of nature, practiced in such a way as to influence and to build various factors to create a beneficial result. As can be seen in the teachings in the law of karma, law of actions, of causes and conditions. In this sense, if we were to use Dhamma terminology, we can see that the important principles of conduct, chariya, can be lived into 3 stages. The first stage, understanding the truth of the natural laws, being wise to the principles that all things fare according to determinants, meaning causes and conditions. The second stage is putting that knowledge to use. That is, practicing in conformity with the norm or natural laws, using actions that cause the factors to proceed in a beneficial way. Third stage, having acted correctly in terms of determinants, allowing those determining factors to proceed as per to the norm of natural laws with a free mind, looking on with awareness and not attaching oneself to it. According to the principles, knowledge and understanding are the core factors of practice, which must always be used from the beginning to end. Simply speaking, we can call this way of conduct living with panya, with wisdom, applied, sustained, and call those who have the way of conduct pandita. A pandita means a sage. Those who live with panya, with wisdom, because wisdom needs to be used right from the onset or the outset. The way that conduct known is the path, magga, or the middle way, does have right view, sammatiti, as its first factor. Sammatiti, right view. The first commonly found definition of right view is the knowledge of the Four Noble Truths, as in the following Buddha Vachana. What, bhikkhus, is sammatiti, right view? Knowing dukkha, suffering, knowing the cause of dukkha, samudaya, knowing the cessation of dukkha, nirodha, knowing the path leading to the cessation of dukkha, magga. This is sammatiti, right view. Sammatiti, is also defined as knowing the unskillful and the skillful, seeing the ti lakkhana, the ti characteristics, anikata, dukkhata, anattata. Those are the three characteristics, ti lakkhana. And seeing the pati samupata, the 12 dependent originations. When a noble disciple clearly knows the unskillful, the roots of the unskillful, the skillful, and the roots of the skillful. On account of this, he is said to have samatiti, right view, to have straight view, to be endowed with the unshakable faith in the Dhamma, and to have penetrated the true teaching. A bhikkhu sees rupa, form, vedana, feeling, sanya, perception, sankhara, volitional formations, vijnana, consciousness, which are impermanent, as impermanent. Such seeing by him is samatiti, right view. Seeing rightly, he is disenchanted. Being no longer enamored, he is no longer captivated. Being no longer captivated, he is no longer enamored. Being no longer enamored and captivated, his mind is thus liberated and thus is completely transcended. A bhikkhu sees eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, form, sound, smells, tastes, tangibles, mind objects, which are permanent as impermanent. Such seeing by him is called samatiti, right view. Whoever sees the pati samupata, the 12 dependent origination, sees the law of Dhamma. Whoever sees the law of Dharma sees the pati samupata, the 12 dependent origination. Truly, bhikkhus, a learned, noble disciple has direct knowledge for himself without having to believe others that when there is this, then there is that. When that arises of this, that arises. In the following Buddha Vachana, samatiti is divided into two levels, that which contains asavas, the outflows, the taints, that which is transcendent. Bhikkhus, what is samatiti, right view? I say that right view is of two kinds. The right view that still has outflows, asavas, that taints, which is class as materials and brings karma, results on the skandhas, the groups, and samatiti, that is noble, without outflows, without the asavas, without the taints, transcendent, the factor of the path. What is samatiti, right view, that still has outflows? So samatiti, that still has asavas, which is class as materials that brings karma, the law of action, results on the skandhas, the groups of aggregates. It is the view that offerings bear fruits. The practice of generosity bears fruit. Worship bears fruit. Good and evil deeds done bear fruit. There in this world, there is the next world. There is a mother. There is a father. There are spontaneously arisen beings. There are recluses, Brahmins who practice well, who declare clearly this world and the next world, their own super knowledge. This is the right view that still has outflows, which is class as materials, that brings karma, the law of action, the state of action, the results on the skandhas, on the aggregates. And what is samatiti, right view, that is noble, without asavas, the outflows, transcended, a factor of magga, the path? It is the path factor of samatiti, right view, which is panya, wisdom, a Panapala. The investigation of the law of dhammas, enlightenment factor, bojana, 7 of them to be exact, of whose mind is noble. Whose mind is without outflows, who has converged in the noble path, Maga Sammaki, who has maintained the noble path. This is Sammatiti, right view, that is noble. Without asavas, without outflow, transcended, a factor of the path. Now, the importance of Sammatiti, bhikkhus, just as the alun, the light of dawn, is the precursor, the herald in the rising of the sun, so is right view, the precursor, the herald of the enlightenment of the Four Noble Truths, Ariya Satcha, of a bhikkhu who is endowed with Sammatiti. It can be expected that he will see, as it is, that dukkha is like this, that the cause of dukkha, samudaya, is like this, that nirodha, the cessation of dukkha, is like this, and the way leading to the cessation of dukkha, magga, is like this. Bhikkhus, of the path, Sammatiti is the chief leader. How is Sammatiti the leader? It is through Sammatiti, right view, that one knows Michatiti, one knows wrong view as wrong view, knows right view as right view, knows wrong thought as wrong thought, and right thought as right thought, knows wrong speech, right speech, knows wrong action, knows wrong action. And how, bhikkhus, is Sammatiti the leader? With right view, thinking can be right. With right thinking, speech can be right. With right speech, action can be right. With right action, livelihood be right. And right livelihood, effort be right. With right effort, mindfulness can be right. With right mindfulness, concentration can be right. With right concentration, due knowledge can be right. With right direct knowledge, liberation can be right. In this way, the learner who is endowed with the 8 factors becomes arihanta, arihat. So an enlightened being endowed with the 10 factors. I see no other factor that is so much a cause of the rising of skillful qualities that yet unarisen, or for the increase and the fulfillment of skillful qualities already arisen, as Sammatiti, right view. Now, there are certain salient features of right view, Sammatiti. The Pali word titi, translated as view, includes beliefs, doctrines, theories, rational beliefs, points that accord with one's own beliefs, principles one agrees with, compatible ideas, ideals, appeals, and preferences. Or as what we say nowadays, values and even ideas, world and life outlooks, fundamental attitudes derived from those views, understandings, and preferences. If we were to divide titi into groups, there would be 2 kinds. Views and beliefs and rationals to values as in good and bad, should and shouldn't. Views and beliefs about truth as in what it is, how it is, and for what reason, and so on. As in the 2 kinds of right view, views, understandings, and preferences have an overwhelming influence on the play of the major role in determining people's way of life and the nature of human society. In the 10 courses of action, Kammapata, view, titi, is included as one of the mental deeds, Mano Kamma, which is the important kind of action with more far-reaching and significant effects than bodily or verbally action. because it is a covert creator of those other kinds of actions. It may be capable of guiding lives, society, and the entire human race to growth, prosperity, and liberation, or guiding them to decline or destruction. This capacity can be seen in the life of an individual. Titi view is the determining factor of the way of life, both in terms of receiving and in terms of expressing. That is, how life and the world are perceived and how they are responded to, beginning with the new way of experiences and interpreted, how they are evaluated and decided upon, and then instigating approaches in thought, speech, and actions in response to those experiences. Briefly, in Buddhist terms, Titi view conditioned and lead to the various factors of path, starting with Samma Sankappa, right thought or aspiration, to be either right or wrong. In practice, the importance of views is not hard to see when people who favor wealth and hold to view as abundance of material things is the goal of life, the gauge of personal success, and the source of pride. Will be naturally struggle and strive to seek an abundance of material wealth. Their study and labor will be to this end. When they look at others, they will assess and evaluate them on the basis of the amount of wealth they have. If the lack of predilections of virtuous conduct, moreover, they will search for wealth with no interest in whether the methods they use are honest or not. They would look on honest but poor people as fools, simpletons, and non-entities. If children see the possession of powers, that accomplishment or virtue, they will tend to throw their weight around, act tough, and bully others. If people believe that there are no such things as good and evil, that they are merely words used to scare people into doing good, they will not devote themselves to the things said to be good and to be heedful, nor restrain themselves in regard to the things said to be bad. When people do not fully understand the nature of life and the world as naturally impermanent and unstable, they will naturally be extremely attached to life, to their bodies, to their wealth, and to people around them. Thus will lead to insecurity, fear, and actions, and the behavior that reflects the dukkha, suffering resulting from the clinging, upatana, insecurity, and fear. Now, on the positive side, samatiti, the effect should be understood as just the opposite. Wrong view is called michatiti, while right view is called samatiti. We have already seen the factors, the conditions of michatiti are detrimental social surroundings. Paragosa, bad paragosa. Remember, paragosa is one of the two factors. We have the internal and the external factors that motivate us from wise reflection, yoniso manasikara, so paragosa. But this is the other aspect of bad factors, particularly bad friends, papa mita, and the other factors, karara mita, the good virtuous friends. But michatiti are detrimental social surrounding with the bad paragosa, with the papa mita, and unwise attention, ayoniso manasikara. The contingent factors for samatiti are wholesome, paratogosa, benign formulating influence that the social environment, especially good friends, Karala mitra, and wise attention, yoniso manasikara, in the following discussion, I would address mainly right view, samatiti, dealing with michatiti intermittently. Right view can be divided into two kinds of levels: mundane right view and transcendent right view. So the mundane right view is lokiya samatiti, and then the transcendent right view is lokutraya samatiti. Lokiya samatiti is right on the mundane level, or conscience level. That is, still connected to the world and subject to the world. It is a view, belief, or understanding in relation to the world and life that is right according to the principles of goodness, in accords with the eternal law of Dhamma, or the compatible in morality of Sila Dhamma, as shown in the Buddha Vachana cited earlier. Generally, the kind of right view arises or external and social factors of faith connecting to the driving force. It arises especially from the formulating influence of society, such as moral teachings and cultural transmission, even when it is related with yo niso mana sikara, sound analysis. Wise reflection tends to be for rousing the skillful, rather than wise reflection on the ways things are. Titi, views on the levels, are related to the values as good and evil, right and wrong, better and worse, shouldn't and should, up to and including to all principles of belief and views that serve to preserve such wholesome values. Because this kinds of views arises from formulating social influences and is transmitted via external influences, it comes in the form of human-made principles, regulations, standards, and beliefs. They are supplementary to or separate from the normal laws of nature, and such are said to be conscious, mundane. They are subject to variation according to time and place. They can change according to social influences and events. Favorite ideas, preferences, and values are all included under conscious, mundane view. However, even though the finer details of this kind of view may vary and change in accordance with locality and occasion, there is a central principle by which way a view can be gauged as right. It's conformity with the law of karma, causes and conditions, the law of action. The law of karma is the principle or satya, the truth of nature, for the reason that sometimes defined more specifically as Kamma Sakatanana, the knowledge that life proceeds according to the state of action, of condition, or in other words, the knowledge or belief that human behavior and its results proceed according to the natural law of causal relationships of determinants. For example, with this comes this. Without this, this won't be. When this arises, this ultimately will happen. When this disappears, this will ultimately happen. Causality causes a condition. It has to have one or the other. Conscious right view thus points to the number of fundamental values, such as responsibility for personal action. Kammasako mi, I am the owner of my own actions. Kammayada do, born of my own actions. Kammayoni, related to my own actions. Kammapantu, abided and supported by my own actions. Kammapati sarano, and so forth. Aspiring to achievements through one's own actions. efforts, abilities, intelligence, intellect, being self-reliant, being mutually helpful via human support. Note that the knowledge of karma, action on this level is simply belief that accords with the law of karma. It's not yet true knowledge or understanding of the law or direct penetration into the causal process, because knowledge is directly penetrates the law or the determinants, is classed as the transcendent kind of samadhi, right view, which we will describe next. In addition, conscious mundane samadhi, right view, can be described in other ways, such as views that lead to benefit and happiness in life and society, or view that causes advancements along the path, affecting the other factors of the path, beginning with is helping to cause the arising of the right thought. And because conscious mundane right thought is the knowledge and understanding that conforms with the original truths of nature, it can also lead to the transcendent right view. Now, transcendent, we could also classify it as subjective, subconscious, loka, lokutraya samadhi. Right view on the subjective, transcendent level is the proper knowledge and understanding of life and the natural world as they really are, or understanding of reality of nature. Simply speaking, it is the understanding of nature, the times and seasons, the rise and falls, and so forth. The right kind of samadhi arises from sound reason analysis or wise reflection, yo niso manasikara, which we spoke on in the earlier chapter, which is an internal factor. Beneficial external influences like paratokosa or good friends, kalalamitra, can help only in inciting the use of yo niso manasikara for subsequent personal realization. Meaning on the levels of right views cannot be obtained by merely listening or believing what others say. It must be direct knowledge of reality. It must be applied, sustained. Nature itself is the point of examination. For this reason, the kind of right view does not come in the form of the principle, regulation, or the tended, created, or pass over the norms of nature. Therefore, it is free of social conditioning and not subject to changing environmental influences. It is direct relationship with nature itself, which has the same reality and norms in all times and all places. In this respect, the kind of samadhi is transcendent, not subject to time, nor limited to occasion. It is universal kind of understanding, necessary for panya and vimutti, so necessary for wisdom and liberation at all times and all places. Right view is the second sense, is specifically the clear and certain knowledge of the level of the noble path and fruit, which makes one a noble, ariya. It makes one a noble one. Or dakinaya pugala, one worthy to be worshipped and praised. Even so, the enlightened right view is the continuation of the same kind of right view of the unenlightened being. For this reason, I would like to suggest that the second right view on the level of unenlightened being is called transcendent type right view. The significance of transcendent or transcendent type samadhi is that its effect is much more profound than the mundane right view. It is capable of causing profound changes to character and the roots levels. Only this kind of right view eliminates defilements, the kalesas. We could go in depth with this with the simile of the cloth. The 16 upa kalesas, 16 detrimental defilements. And in the Tipitaka, for example, is the simile on the cloth the Buddha gives, Gautama. Rather than just suppressing them or covering them over, that leads to the true assurance of virtue, sila, that does not waver in the face of social values. This is because it sees clearly on the level that penetrates the social level. This is, it's not raced around after the conditioned appearance of the social level. This point has an important meaning in the educational sense, because it is the point of consideration in individual development. So, how to relate to social, society, and to the nature. How much influence or benefits should be obtained by society and from nature. As we know, transcendent right view, samatiti, arise from yo-niso manasikara. Thus, wise reflection plays an important role in the development in regard, in which it should be reiterated that, for the most part of conduct of unenlightened beings follow the influence of social values and social conditioning. Emphasis on social value and social conditioning. As in refraining from certain bad acts and conducting oneself in obedience to teachings. Hearsay, ideas handed down, or remembered modes of behavior. Whenever the unenlightened beings is not under the influence of these values, one is most likely to fall under the power of desire. Or we say nowadays, to follow one's own mood. So we have the desires, two kinds. Bad desire, tanha. Good desire, chanta. So it depends on our mode. We have that shapes our behavior. If it goes on something that towards the negative aspect, we call that tanha in Pali. If it goes towards the good, wholesome aspect, that's chanta, desire. Yoniso manasikara, wise attention, helps to transcend both influence of social values and enslavement to the desire or personal moods and defilements, leading to independent conduct guided by panya, wisdom. Thus, it may be concluded that whatever an unenlightened being may say or do, if it lacks wise attention, it will fall either under the influence of values obtained from outside or desires, only when there is transcendent right view. People can truly be free from the influence of social conditioning when right view becomes, when titi becomes samatiti, it's classified as panya, wisdom. Even though in this initial stage, it's a simply view or belief, because this view or belief accords with truth based on the understanding in accordance with reality or determinants. And it's begun to go beyond the dominion of ignorance, avidya, and desire. From the point on, even though such titi or belief may evolve into a clear and true realization known as direct knowledge, it is always known by the original term samatiti, in order to show the consistency of the growth or fruition. In this respect, samatiti has broad meaning and is raising from the views and beliefs that are correct up to the knowledge of understanding of reality of it. So that's samatiti. We're going to leave off at the top of, or the middle page of 482. So it was 473 to 482. And we just read on samatiti, the mundane and the transcendent. The mundane is lokiya samatiti. The transcendent is lokutraya samatiti. The essentials of Buddha Dhamma, the teachings and practice of Theravada Buddhism, compiled by Somdet Prabhuta Gosaya, translated and edited by Bruce Evans. The essential teachings. We'll leave off that today.